Who will win the Veep Stakes? Kamala Harris is currently considering which candidate will be her running mate in the upcoming election. As of this recording on August the 2nd, the announcement has not been made. We're going to use astrology and a very simple tool, profection ages, and a look at the sun in the charts of the following characters: Josh Shapiro, Mark Kelly, Tim Walz, Andy Beshear, and Pete Buttigieg, to make a decision about who is likely to win. If you don't want to wait till the end, I'm going to end up saying it's Tim Walz. If it's not Tim, it's secondly likely to be Andy Beshear. Let me show you why. And I'm also offering you a free giveaway down below this. If you watch this video, it's how to use the profection age tools to learn about your life cycles and timing using profection ages as a basic tool. And that course has been taught and resold many times, but you can get it for free. Look down below and there will be a code. Why am I giving that course to you? Because I'm going to be talking about the profection ages of the following characters. Now, astrology can be used for predictive tools. I am neither Democratic, Republican. I'm Canadian. I will try my best to keep my personal opinions out of the mix. But if you had to call me anything, I'm a centrist. All right. I'm right in the middle. I'm really, truly a centrist. I like some policies of the liberal side of government in the US and Canada and some of the conservative side. So you put me as a cocktail in the middle, really. So let's start with Josh Shapiro. Why are we starting with Josh? Well, because Josh Shapiro is a governor, and right now I'm hearing that governors are likely favored by Kamala Harris. I'll explain why in a bit. But also I do have, here's birthday, June 1973, and that's at the top, but we do not have a time. So we'll only be looking at his sun. We cannot ascertain his ascendant, and we cannot make whole sign houses make any meaning here. But what we can say is the following. He has a sun in Gemini, and a lot of you know that's also where Kamala Harris's ascendant sits. By the way, in synastry, it wouldn't be a good match for her because unfortunately, his sun will outshine her at physically, energetically, and she may feel that intuitively. She may not want to be with somebody whose sun is sitting on her ascendant. Hang on. And she might just feel it. Like, oh my God, when I'm around him, he outshines me in some way. So that's not great. But second of all, because her ascendant is 24 degrees of Gemini, Jupiter will refrain from reaching his ascendant this year as Jupiter is traveling through the sign of the 10th house. Now, well, not 10th house. We don't know what house it is, but the Jupiter is currently approaching Josh Shapiro's sun. That's a yay. That's wonderful. But he's not reaching that until next spring. So therefore, it's retrograding in October. Jupiter will move away from the sun, and it's close, but not quite. And this indicates a lack of precision power. He's in the kerfuffle right now of the news cycle. He may be ascending to power, but next year in the spring, perhaps March or April, as Jupiter becomes more close, March, April, May, to his sun, you may see him ascending to more power. Maybe a spot in the government of the Democratic Party, should they be winning, will be awarded to him at that time. Second of all, what about his profection age or annual profection age, an ancient tool that is very simple? So if he was born in 1973, June, and then as of June of this year, he turned 51 years old. 51 is simply this. First house age is at 48. This is 49. This is 50. And this is 51. All right. It's a fourth house age. Guess what, guys? It's the midnight hour of the sky. It's the dungeon. It's the out of the public eye. It's in the bottom of the sky. Now, I don't have his natal chart to tell you what's really down at the bottom of his chart because we don't have a time here. But it does indicate a time that usually is about being less prominent. So the fourth house age itself is not an auspicious age. And in that regard, we may wonder if that is an age at which somebody is likely to be elevated in the public eye. So those two things make me, on a very simple note, go 51. People are kind of going into the dungeon and reinventing themselves. They're not standing out on the top of the sky going, hey, look at me. So those are two simple reasons. The sun not reaching the Jupiter conjunction until next year, and also this unfortunate condition here that he's got going on of a fourth house age, just as a general principle. Now, the other thing I'd say about his chart, just to finish him up, right? Just to like complete the story here. He does have a Saturn Sun conjunction, and he can rise to great levels of authority in his career, whatever that career may be. But he may also struggle with some depression. I don't know his story, anxiety, a complicated relationship with his own father. But I want to bring that up because, in this particular time frame, we're going to experience a fallen Venus moving through Virgo, and eventually, as the month of August goes on, squaring that Sun Saturn complex. And that could just be a very not positive transit for him, where even though he may rise to power and there's a possibility of it, it doesn't look good in the short term. So to be announced as a winner, I don't think so. Now we're going to clear that and move to the next candidate. We've ruled out Josh Shapiro. What about Mark Kelly? Mark Kelly is a senator, and he was highly favored by many people to be a potential candidate. And so let's take a look at Mark Kelly and see what we can come up with here. Here's Mark Kelly. So Mark Kelly is born in April 12th of 1973. He's also 51 years old, also in a fourth house age. We do not know what planetary ruler of his fourth house we would look at because we don't have an ascendant time for sure. But we just know that fourth house age tends to be more of a hunker down and stay out of Dodge. It's not really an age where most people naturally ascend. Now, I will give you this. I mean, imagine the ruler of his fourth house is in his 10th house. Yeah, of course, but we don't have an ascendant. Second of all, what about his sun? Well, his sun experienced a major energy of an eclipse. That eclipse occurred on April the 8th, right on his sun, 19 degrees eclipse, right on his Chiron, and was also a Chiron-infused eclipse. He's healing his Chironic wound about his father relationship and his career path. And with a Venus in exile, he's had some challenges in father and career matters in which he's been kind of feeling sometimes like he has maybe been wounded there. We don't know which house this wound exists in. We just know that that eclipse is opening up a 1-year time frame, April of 2023 to April of 2024, where he's having a massive career change, a healing of a Chironic career wound. I am not going to tell you his life story. I didn't take time to look. I'm just trying to guess the VP winner, right? The VP stakes, Vice President sweepstakes here. But again, the 51st age, not great. The eclipse does mean a massive change in his career. And maybe as a senator, Kamala Harris will give him a new role in her new government, a portfolio as a secretary of something, right? And that's probably what that eclipse would do if he indeed wins. Now, remember how I told you that Josh Shapiro has his sun on Kamala's ascendant area? Well, and that would be, he could outshine her. She could feel dominated or under his, light. Not good. She probably feels that intuitively. Saturn at 16 degrees of Gemini is also on her ascendant at 24 degrees of Gemini. She would feel this guy wants to control her, be more authoritative, be a bit Saturn, constricting, constraining. Again, not a good match for her. And one she may intuitively feel that it doesn't feel right. Apparently on the weekend, I am recording August 2nd, Friday, she's going to be talking individually to each of these candidates to get a sense of them personally for herself. So once again, this guy doesn't look like a winner to me. We can look at the nodes of fate, and we see the Capricorn North Node will be squared by the eclipse of October 2nd, putting that eclipse at the bending of the nodes of fate in his chart in the sign of Libra on October the 2nd. But we do not know where the eclipse falls in his chart. We do not know what the Libra house is, but he's under a lot of change that is destined in his life. And the eclipse at the bending of the nodes of fate, plus the eclipse of April 8th, Senator Mark Kelly is on the move, and he will change his position in government. He could even retire from government, but he'll major changes in the next 12 months. So that's a story, but I don't think he's the pick. Let's move into another candidate. I'm going to look at Andy Beshear. Here's somebody, Andy Beshear, with whom we have a time of birth, 11:50 p.m. from a birth certificate, Lexington, Kentucky, November 29th, 1977. If he was born in 1977, and this is 2024, and we have to go actually to November of 2023, that makes him 46 years old. right? And he'll be 47 years old coming up this year. Now, my math is always terrible. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 6. Yeah, he's 46 years old. So what is the 46 profection age in general? Okay, we can do him exactly. We can actually add his ascendant degree in here. He is a close call with Tim. Okay, the two of them are neck and neck in my humble opinion. All right, let's just do it. This is his real birth chart. So Andy Beshear. Andy Beshear is a governor. There's a bunch of news going on that Kamala's team on the campaign trail are telling Wall Street to get all of their contributions in fast as possible, because there's a rule in Wall Street that if one of the governors is on the ticket, they can't contribute to the campaign, because otherwise governors could be said to be taking payola in their states. So there's been a separation between Wall Street and governorship. And so once she picks a governor, there's no more money coming for her campaign from Wall Street, ostensibly. That's the rule. So because she's been telling governors, Wall Street to hurry up and get all funding in now, it indicates she's probably thinking of a governor, therefore, obviously not Senator Mark Kelly, nor we'll get to Pete Buttigieg next. So here we have Andy Beshear, and Andy Beshear is an Aquarius rising, and he is also looking at his sun in the sign of Sagittarius, but basically conjunct the ascendant of the United States of America, conjunct Joe Biden's ascendant, for example. Interesting placement for his sun. And it does speak to the fact that he's already in politics, because his sun is on the identity of the United States natal chart from the Sibley chart, from the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Add to that, his moon is pretty close to the sun of the United States at 13 Cancer. And the guy is definitely cut out for USA politics. Now, asteroid America on his south node, we don't know which house it in, past lives in America or American politics. Just that kind of story. You can see it right here. Now, one of the things I'd say about him, and we're talking about Andy, of course, here, is that he does have a very strong 11th house story. Sun midheaven. He's born to be a leader, born to rise to the top, born to charm people with a kind of mesmerizing, hypnotizing way of being publicly seen. And he's got a powerful desire to partner up with others, so he could be a running mate in the public eye. But unfortunately, his Mercury also is a bit of a bamboozler, right? A Mercury, in the best way it can be in Sagittarius, is noble speeches like "I have a dream," or speech writers who create those sorts of narratives in political speech. But with Neptune there, that combination is definitely someone who can be speaking publicly in mesmerizing ways, but also in ways that aren't necessarily honest or true, because Mercury doesn't have the details he needs. He's in a sign of his exile, ruled by Jupiter exalted. So there's a quality of his speech that, well, it could be publicly charming or mesmerizing. He may not be all that capable of always being analytically detailed oriented and getting the truth out, but maybe you don't need the truth. Maybe you just need to inspire people. So there's a motivational quality to maybe how he speaks. I didn't take time to watch his video, so I don't know or anything about him, honestly. Well, what else can we say about him? What is happening with that sun before we get to the profection age? What is happening with his sun? Is anything activating the potential for an elevation to his career path in the real-time sky? Well, we have Saturn in the sign of Pisces, for example, in his second house of voice, vocation, earnings. Saturn is squaring his stellium, squaring his Juno, squaring his Mercury, whole sign especially. We have the Venus in her fall in Virgo at this time, moving through the early part of Virgo, squaring his midheaven from the house of secrets and financing issues. And we have, of course, Jupiter and Mars in his fifth house opposite his stellium. It is a crucifixion crucible for him. He's creating a grand cross in the sky from the August 15th T-square. Well, that can be a catapult to greatness. It can also look like a difficult time. And with Mars in the fifth house, it, opposite. It's possible that there is something that could compromise his candidacy in his past, because Mercury retrograde with Venus in the eighth house is squaring the house of romance with Mars Jupiter. Sexual secrets from his past that are disclosed in his being vetted or whatever, even though I know he's been vetted by a firm looking for secrets. If Kamala sits down with him and her team and goes, tell us what's the worst case scenario with you, what could possibly compromise our success if we chose you? It may be hidden secrets around financial matters or sexual matters, and that could be the reason he won't make this cut. But let's just keep going one more layer down for Andy Beshear, because he looks good to many people. He is 46 years old, and in November, he will turn on his birthday, but the whole month of November is shaded by the 47th age. The 46th age is the 11th house age, and it is an age of ascendancy. It is reaping the karmic rewards, actualization of your dreams and wishes. His sun is up there. He can be a movement maker. He's at the top of the sky. He's with the top of the sky, midheaven sun. It tends to be a favorable age for rising to ascendancy in anything, career, politics, it doesn't matter, celebrity. So that would say yes. Ruled by Jupiter, exalted in the house of work as service. That would say yes. What doesn't say yes? Well, in the sense that in November, he slides into the difficult 12th house, where a lot of people go through a hugely difficult time in many ways in their life. That doesn't bode well. And he'll be feeling the energy of that coming at him. It's like, I just want to go off to the ashram, or, oh no, my own self-undoing could undo me, or, oh no, ruled by Saturn. He's about to head there in November, right? The taskmaster, the lord of time and karma in the eighth house, which is a difficult house. He's coming into a difficult year, a difficult 47th age. But what about if we perfect the profection ages month by month? And I do the whole sign month technique. So he's born November 29th, 1977. And it means at the 46th age in November, the whole month of November, not the 29th, the whole month of November of 2023 is his 11th house month. And maybe there's stories about him coming in the new cycle then where he looked very prominent and positive and he was speaking a lot in the public or something like that last November. Then we move into December. Let me annotate. That's his 12th month age. This is November, December. This is January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Here he is. This is the month in which he has been behind him, right? This is behind him, focused on solar matters, career matters, right? The sun. It is a solar ruled Leo house. He may be very aggressively focused in July on his career ascendancy. That's just basically what that means. What about August, where Kamala Harris is choosing a running mate? He's in his eighth house age, where we have a debilitated Virgo in her fall and a retrograde Mercury. Bonk. I don't think he's going to get it right. Wrong answer. This month does not bode well for him being chosen. Yes, a lot of fortune is here. Saturn is sitting here fine. But right now, Venus is crossing Saturn. Love is hard. Things are hard. Mercury's retrograde. Retrograde Mercury could be, again, what things about money, sex, and love from his past. Venus could be coming into the story, either in the real story, maybe Trump people are out there digging around dirt for Beshear, or Kamala is finding out about it as she's vetting him. Who knows? Now, Kamala Harris is a what? Gemini rising. We've covered that. There is a fifth house connection to each other. However, he has no planets here that lord over her, but in her house of oppositional energy, called the house of adversaries, right? House of open enemies and competition. He has a son. If you were married to somebody with their son in your seventh house, they tend to, again, like people with sun in your first house, you might find yourself feeling like you're in their orbit, right? Feeling like all of their needs and priorities are taking your attention. With this stellium in her seventh house, you could say ideal running mate, maybe. Or you could say, ideal partner, ideal partnership. But he's got so much going on in the house of her seventh. I don't know if she will like the feeling of that. She may have her natural reservations that something about him doesn't feel collaborative, but feels competitive or adversarial when she is in his presence. Also, what I also would say about his chart, in essence, is that what planetary transits in our real-time sky is that gnarly T-square coming up, right, would not work in his behalf. And that is the T-square here that I've already noted in other charts. This axis is highly activated. There's a grand cross. That whole thing mid-August would put him in hot water probably if she chose him, and the DNC convention timeframe would be difficult. If we took him to the election month and we continue to profect through, it means that in November, because we're saying here is August, September, October, but November we jump to the 12th house, right? In the month of November, the man is in a 12th house age and a 12th house month. So it's not good. It's not a good choice if I was giving your astrological advice, ruled by Saturn in his 8th house. So I think I'm going to say, not only is he not a great pick at the end of the day, she may actually feel intuitively that he is not a great pick at the end of the day. All right. So I'm ruling him out, but I think it's going to be close. I think a lot of people may persuade her or try to persuade her based on that stellium in her 7th house that he's ideal for her. Like, this is your perfect mate, but I'm not sure she'll take him, but let's keep going. So we've ruled out maybe Andy Beshear, and we're going to take a very fast look at Pete Buttigieg, and then we're going to talk about Tim. So why do I think that, like, without even looking at the chart, why will Pete Buttigieg be a bad pick? He's gay. I love gay people, no problem, guys. But she's a black woman. She's a Jamaican Indian woman of color, running to be the head of the United States. And that's never happened before. Woman of color ruling the United States, the leader of the United States. That's enough. You add a gay to it. And what their strategic campaign people might go, and you add that he's Minister of Transportation, so he's a part of the old guard, part of the Biden legacy, try to get fresh blood in there. But I mean, come on, you're going to maybe win over a Christian who wouldn't mind going for a woman of color, but suddenly finds out that, there's a gay running mate. You're losing swing votes, undecided votes, middle of the road votes. You're just not going to bring him in. It's just too controversial. So I think that strategically they wouldn't do that. But if we look at Pete's chart, he also doesn't look like that he's the guy. And then we're going to do the big finale. Why is it Tim Walz, right? So hang in there. I promise. Tim. Now I'm going to also direct you, Pete. I'm also going to direct you to In the Company of Cards by Erica Robinson, a friend of mine. And she just did, every time she does something on Substack, she's a friend and she's been on my channel before. She's a Lenormand teacher, tarot reader, card creator. She agrees with me all the time. I put something out, she's got it on Substack. I see it on her Substack after I've done my videos, and she's coming on my channel to do some election stuff with me. She also declared Tim Walz the winner, but Andy Beshear was close, just so you know. But we see the same things for different reasons. So here's Pete. We don't have a birth time for Pete, so we can take out the ascendant. I don't think I covered him yet, because I'm not sure, but I don't believe I said. I had to start this video over because I had an issue with one of my videos thingies. But let's just take out the whole, display there. Where is it? Why isn't it letting me do that? Sometimes the software doesn't work when I'm trying to make a change in the display mode. So we'll just take out the ascendant part. Oh, this is really funny. There it is. Now it's showing me that I'm allowed to take out the ascendant descendant axis because we don't have a time for Pete. Okay. Yeah, it is Mercury going retrograde. Watch my videos that are coming out on that. They'll already be out by the time you see this. Or no, they'll come out tomorrow. Saturday and Sunday, Mercury retrograde, Venus and Virgo coming out. And let's go back to the chart. I am screen sharing. Okay, hallelujah. Am I? I don't even know what to say. There we go. Okay, Pete. Pete. What does it say? Like, all right, guys, remember Kamala's a Gemini rising. Pete is got no planets in Gemini. He's got his Venus opposite that in her seventh house. She likes him. She finds him attractive. She finds him engaging. She enjoys being around him. That's what Venus does in the seventh house of somebody. So she likes Pete. That's wonderful. And his Venus is right on her descendant. I mean, honestly, it would be a great relationship. So they like each other. So she likes him. Wonderful. Would he be likely to be the candidate on an astrological level? How old is he? He's 42 years old. So if this is the age of 40, your fifth house, 41, 42, he's in his seventh house age. We don't know the planetary ruler. We don't have a birth time. But being in the seventh house age is indicative in general of being focused on other people. And that could be focused on another person, like I'm going to be a running mate or something like that. But it's, again, not an age at the top of the sky like Andy Beshear has. And the top of the sky age is very helpful. He's not that. He's in the setting place. Pete Buttigieg is in the age of the setting place where the sun goes down, not where the sun rises, the ascending place. So that age itself tends to be about what we're completing, what we're finishing, what we're ending in our life, and not what we're beginning. There's a possibility it could be ending his career, of course, but I don't think that's it. We can see that he had on his sun a full moon, but it was also conjunct Pluto, can indicate he's going to step away from his position as a transportation secretary in the next 5 to 6 months. And if Kamala wins, she'll probably give him a new portfolio. So there's just that too. And what about the energy of that sun in the current sky, other than having a full moon light upon it just recently, that indicates a change and a fullness and a completion in some career ambition with Pluto transformation? Is this a strong spot for him to be Kamala's pick? No. And actually, although she likes him, his sun is in her eighth house. Honestly, that just says, nah. I mean, I'm just saying it doesn't look good. And it logically doesn't fit. Now we have a Venus retrograde we have a Venus going over his fallen Jupiter. We have Mercury retrograding in Virgo, whereas Jupiter is for the part of him that could be the leader, Jupiter trying the sun. End of story. I didn't want to spend any time on Pete. When people said Pete Buttigieg, I think that makes no political sense. There's no political capital. You don't get the state all riled up because he's already, well, you do, but he's already at the top of the old Biden admin power structures. And anybody who didn't like Biden, who's on the fence, are just going to go, he's old guard. He was with Biden. I told you all the reasons it's not him. Now, what about Tim Walz? And we're done, because I already said it's Tim, but I'm trying to show you why. Oh, I lost Tim's chart in the back end. Let me open him up. All right, give me a sec. And we're going to look at Tim. Now, I rectified Tim, but we don't have to look at the rectification if we don't want to. I just figured out from a few of his life stories, Tim Walz, it's a weird name, W-A-L-Z, Walz. I figured out a few things about him. So is this the one I rectified or not? No, this is not the rectified version, but I can rectify it quickly. We're going to move the chart around to what I think he is, which is a Cancer rising, and I'm going to tell you why I think he's a Cancer rising. All right. From his life stories, just as a general principle, Cancer risings have big moon faces, like hillbilly elegy guy Vance. He's probably a Cancer rising based on his life story as well. And why else did I think he was? Let me go back and look at my rectification. Recently used. I might just skip it because I didn't save the rectification for some reason. So I did have a deeper rectification chart for why I think he's a Cancer rising, but I'm not going to put that in here now. But one of the things I'd say is that his second wife is going to be Jupiter in his natal chart. And that Jupiter is an educator. This is based on a technique from India, an educator, and his wife is in the educational field as an administrator. And that Jupiter energy would be his current wife, FYI, second wife. But back to Tim. Let's not go into the rectification. Let's just use his chart. We think he's at Cancer rising. We don't know for sure. So we're not going to focus too much on that. He's 60 years old. Tim is 60 years old. He looks like a grandpa. He looks older than Kamala, who's 60 years old. What does that mean? It's good for the image, guys. She looks younger than she is. People think she's in her late 40s, early 50s. He looks older. You get like both generations. You're going to get the boomers and the fuddy-duddies saying we want some older, wiser man in there. And if they don't really pay attention, it looks like grandpa and Kamala are running together. But this is the grandpa who's charismatic, who can talk who doesn't have mental cognitive decline. This is the grandpa, by the way, who came up with the word, they're just weird, Trump Vance type thing, and that's become a major campaign theme. He talks smart. He's very, very, very much about small town integrity, labor. He's born in Nebraska, but he's a Minnesota governor. The labor unions, he got rights and salary increases and labor rights, maybe for Uber drivers and Lyft drivers. He's like about the working guy, that kind of thing. Okay, and of course, that is the old Democratic platform, right? That's what they used to be mostly about: labor unions, working guy, everyday guy. And he speaks the talk, walks the talk, but he also feels honest when you watch him speak. He's born with Jupiter Sun conjunction, maybe in his 10th house. He's going to be a leader. He's already a governor. Mars is in dignity in Aries. He's got some very strong planets here. And this gives him a sort of commanding presence just in general. What about the 60th age? No matter which ruler of the 60th age, we don't know his rising sign. 60 is the rising place, not the setting place. It's where the sun is coming up above the horizon in the first house. This is where we begin to come into the below the horizon, above the horizon. He's a bit of a nobody. Nobody really was paying attention to him until he hit the airwaves. And it's funny because now he's rising and he's in his 60th age, squaring his 10th house. He may be on the rise. That's basically it. We're going to not do his as if I know his rising sign because I'm just guessing. That will wait to another time. All right. But we're just going to go. He's in the 60th age, unlike Josh Shapiro at 51 in the 4th house dungeon, right? Unlike Mark Kelly in the 4th house age of the dungeon. Unlike Pete in the 7th house age of the setting place. Unlike Andy Beshear at the 11th house age, which is really good. He's rising up to the very top, but so is Andy Beshear, and so is Tim. So the age is good for him. What else can I say about the age of 60? We tend to be looking at things that are changing in our life, like as if we're at the steering wheel and we're making major life changes of home, of work, of career. It's kind of the age where a lot of things change and impact our life in a new way over the next 12 years. Check out the free course down below. Finally, what else would I mention here? It looks to me in this chart that his sun, having been eclipsed at the 19th degree, is going to be an indicator of a major change in his career path. The eclipse at the top of the sky with Jupiter in attendance, but not eclipsed. Jupiter did not get eclipsed in his natal chart. Jupiter watched it happen, could indicate the eclipse brings powerful and positive new developments in solar activity without knowing which house it's in, which is career, purpose, and leadership. So we see maybe a change, but a growing shift, a new direction, and maybe a healing of a chironic wound where he's never felt quite, because Chiron was conjunct the sun on that eclipse, quite in his own skin regarding purpose, career, and father figure matters. Kamala is a Gemini rising. His Venus is in her 1st house. It's kind of in a prenatal place, which means they like each other and they maybe had past lives together. Now, when Venus is in your first, like if I was dating somebody and their Venus was in my 1st house, they will make me feel good. I will feel good around them. I will have fun. They may feel like a friend. They may feel like there's somebody who brings me joy or pleasure or enjoyment. So when they're in the same room and she's interviewing him, she's going to really get down with the feeling that this guy brings something blessed and positive to my image, to my identity. You could even say that he gives her an identity glow up. Juno, the goddess of partnership, including running mate partners and love partners and marriage partners, is in her 7th house. His Juno, a goddess of marriage, is in the place of her descendant and her marriage partnership. That could indicate she looks over at her 7th and sees he could be a real partner for me. He could be really a team player. Again, that's another plus in how she would perceive his relevance to her chart. Now, we're just going to swoop the charts together and we're going to be done. There is Kamala on the outside. There is Tim in the middle. I'm not going to run the whole synastry. I'm just going to give you some basics here. And I'm going to put back the midheaven in for Kamala so we can look at her midheaven as well. And we will not know his midheaven and we will not actually know his ascendant. So just bear with it and we will put her lot of fortune. When it comes to his chart, we have no sure knowledge unless I look at all of his life events on Wikipedia, and I can rectify some of his chart probably, but I'm not going to do that today. All right. What kind of thing would this look like together if she chooses him, which I might be wasting my time because she may not. But again, I said it's Pete, Beshear, or him. Well, number one, in a relationship, when you see a Jupiter moon conjunction, I'll get out good. I mean, these are two people who enjoy being together, but blend the moon that belongs to Kamala with, which by the way, is in her, drum roll please, 11th house of good spirit with his Jupiter. He expands her popular and public appeal with the people. He's a great pick if she takes him. Her midheaven, his Saturn. He brings old man sagacity, even just the same age. He feels older, looks older, has a vibe of grandpa to her public reputation. Possibly people think she's inexperienced, incompetent. She giggles and laughs. It's all about what has been unburdened in time and yellow school buses. And he could add a folksy gravitas and a sense of grandpop's got her back in the story of her career, reputation, mid-heaven position, which is in her Pisces 10th house. So he does something very cool for her ascendant that can be about him looking like a great, good asset for her. And I think he is a good asset if she chooses him. Also, I mean, there's so many ways to look at it. We know her ascendant descendant axis intimately, right? And so we can make some assumptions about it. Ultimately, it looks to me like the vibe here is her north node in Gemini, which is also with her ascendant, is connected strongly to that Venus impulse. I mean, there's a destined, fated quality to how she receives his Venus. And we don't know what sign it's in, but it feels like a friendship. It feels like a genuine friendship could emerge between the two of them. And anything else. So her IC, which is the root of the chart, which represents where she lives, right? And her home base, and that's her fourth house of home and home base. You do see that this is generational, but his Pluto and his Uranus is on her IC directly, reinforcing a potential reason for his intersection in her life, indicating a change of home, or an exciting change of home, an exhilarating change of home. Uranus, Pluto, a change of home for reasons of power. Something about that could amplify the potential for her to experience that as well. Okay, that's about it. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we don't know for sure that Tim will be the categorical Veep stake winner, but my gut tells me he's the winner. But if not, it's Andy Beshear. Everyone else doesn't look like it. Hope you enjoyed this little mini update. Check up my free description box below where you can get my Profections course for free. It's usually for sale for 19 or 20 bucks. But no, I'm giving it to you so you can use the profection ages in your own life. And it's like the tool of a century, right? It's so darn easy. And you'll need your birth chart to cast your birth chart, but it's in the course. But also you need a birth time to use this in any great depth of meaning, unlike, which I can't do. Just you can still use profection ages without a birth time. It's just general themes of an age versus specific to your chart. All right. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Popping this out on Friday, August 2nd. I'm just going to throw it into YouTube land as fast as I can because I got a video tomorrow on Saturday on Mercury retrograde at 9 a.m. Pacific. I got a premiere video on Venus in the sign of Virgo at 9 o'clock on Sunday. And then on Monday, I have my weekly forecast, which are talking about a beautiful sky with a Jupiter, Sun, and Venus, Mercury combo that looks pretty darn good. So we have actually a very positive week ahead in the general astrology. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. And hopefully this is something you enjoy.